Okay, so I'll be brief. We want to get to your questions, but I did want to take a few minutes to join the call and talk a little bit about vaccinations and the question on everyone's mind, which is how are we doing, where we are, how's it going. I will say, there's been a fair bit of development and mainly good news over the past week or so in the COVID response, and particularly with vaccinations. So at this point, we've administered over 203,000 vaccines, which is a jump of more than 30,000 vaccines since we opened the mass vaccination sites 5 days ago. As you know, we now have 2 mass vaccination sites run by the state, principally the National Guard. I was checking out the Cranston one last week, and over time, I think we'll add more of those in the north part of the state and the south part of the state, so it's easy access for all Rhode Islanders. Those sites have already been and will continue to be a game changer. They do high volume and vaccinate hundreds of people an hour. I realized last week there was a lot of attention around the New York Times ranking with respect to, where does Rhode Island rank around the percent of Rhode Islanders who've received the first dose. And in just the past 4 days, Rhode Island has moved up 17 spots on that list, and we're still climbing. And I think, a lot of that is because of these state-run mass vaccination sites, and I suspect you'll see we will continue to climb. And we're in the top half of states for administering both doses. And at the same time, the rate at which we've cut our hospitalizations is among the very best in America. I know everyone's focused on vaccinations at the moment with very good reason. I do think, though, it's important that we keep our eye on the overall state of the coronavirus pandemic in Rhode Island. And in that regard, our percent positive is, just 2%. So really the lowest number that we've ever seen. Hospitalizations are the lowest they've been in many months, and new cases are down in every single age group. So the overall picture as it relates to COVID is that we are in a good and stable place. The big news today is that we opened vaccine scheduling to people who are 65 and above, and so 65 and above today, and actually today there have been over 10,000 appointments booked for the Dunk and Saconaset. So that's just today since we've made that announcement. And the great news is that largely as a result of the vaccination approach, this week we'll be closing both of our field hospitals at the end of the week. So big picture, closing the field hospitals, lowest percent positive we've seen in a long time, and continuing to get vaccine out, and as of today, 65 plus. So as I always do, I want to thank the team, particularly the vaccine team. They've been working around the clock, working all weekend around inventory issues and such, and I'm really very proud of them. So I'm happy to answer your questions. Before I take your questions, I'm sure you're all wondering when I will be confirmed. I will share with you everything I know, which is that I am not certain when I will be confirmed. I don't know when the vote will be. The impeachment trial, which was nearly a week, and the Senate recess meant, it took a little bit longer than we might have initially thought, but the Senate is going through its process, and I don't really have anything more to say on that. But of course, I will keep you posted as I learn more. And in the meantime, I'm just here supporting Lieutenant Governor McKee in his transition. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions, and Dr. Alexander Scott as well.
Hello, Governor. Brian Crandall, how are you?
Hello, Brian.
Just on the rollout this morning of the 65 plus, I know the system did not crash, but I think there was a lot of confusion with the sign-up time not being known ahead of time. We've heard from seniors who were on last night at midnight, 6 o'clock this morning, putting in their information over and over and over again, only to find out that it opened up after 9 o'clock. What do you say to those people who are very frustrated and maybe don't understand some of the logistics of the website as well and say it's not very user-friendly?
Good morning, Brian. Thank you for that question. We handled it the same way that we did last week with opening to 75 and older, but we recognize that going forward we can continue to provide some clarification on that time frame that we will be opening. So we'll get to see the night before and aren't doing it from midnight the night before. And we'll continue to make sure that individuals know it is an after 9 o'clock time frame that we will open. Every day we are working hard to make the website experience simpler, work faster. I saw an individual on my way here now who said that it was smooth over at the Dunkin' getting her vaccine. It was a good process, and so the more and more individuals reporting those experiences, hopefully the better the overall experience will be.
Brian, I would just add two things. One is, we're committed to continuous improvement. It's not entirely surprising on the very first day. It wouldn't be where we want it to be, and we'll get better. We're going to get better every day, so it is easier for people and more accessible for people. But the other thing, which is really important, maybe particularly for folks who are a little bit older, there's a phone number, 844-930-1779. If it's just too frustrating for folks to use a computer or they just can't get to a computer, 844-930-1779.
If I could follow up, I know a lot of people waited a long time on the phone number. Have you added more people? And also one of the other issues we're hearing is that, not necessarily an issue, it may be planned, that more appointments are being added as the day goes along. And I don't know if that's correct, but that's what we're hearing, and that people, when they don't get an appointment first thing, then are finding that they have to go back later. Why not just open up all the appointments and then populate as they, when a day fills up, then just open the next one so people don't have to keep going back and back?
So we do have live individuals on the phone lines, and we'll continue to monitor that and expand as we need to. And then in terms of adding slots for vaccinations, we start with what we anticipate to be the number, and then want to make sure that we are able to add to that if we can. Certainly as we go forward, we can make adjustments, but that has been the starting point that we've chosen to go with as we learn what the response is and come up with a few days of assessments on what we should be putting out there at the beginning of the day.
Hey, Governor, it's Eli Sherman from Channel 12. Thanks for talking with us today. The Lieutenant Governor was pretty critical of your administration's vaccine rollout last week, saying that it hasn't moved quickly enough. You said that you're supporting him on a daily basis. Have you talked to him since then? And if so, what are you telling him?
Yeah. In fact, I had a long call with him this morning, and we touch base extremely regularly, if not daily. I think, as I said at the beginning when I made my comments, we've made huge progress even in the past 5 or 6 days. Our initial strategy was to be very targeted, right, to focus on the most vulnerable populations, trying to bring down our hospitalizations. By the way, that worked. Now the next phase is broader immunization, faster, and even in the past few days, we've jumped up 17 spots on the New York Times list. So He and I are working closely together. I'm trying to do everything I can to support his transition. And, as I said, I think we are working the kinks out. And I think you're just going to continue to see it get better and better as the state's mass vaccination sites continue to expand. We need to expand capacity in the system so more people can get vaccinated, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Just a quick follow-up to that.
Governor,
Go ahead, you want to follow up?
Just a quick follow. I wonder, I think that the perception may be right now that some of that criticism from him and the New York Times and the Harvard University ranking spurred you and your administration to move quicker. Do you agree with that perception?
Say the question again, Eli?
Yeah, sure. So the perception that I think the public perception right now is that some of the criticism of your administration moving too slowly has spurred you to open up the mass vac sites to move more quickly with vaccinations. And I'm just wondering, do you agree with that perception?
Yeah, got it. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question. No, absolutely not. Look, this was always the plan. We had a very deliberate plan, informed by the experts. This whole time I've listened to public health experts, Dr. Alexander Scott and the team. We had a vaccination task force, and our explicit strategy was initially start in a targeted way with healthcare providers and the most vulnerable people, nursing homes, drive down hospitalizations, and then move to, what I said, broader, faster across the population. So this is the plan, and now we're at that phase of our plan.
I think I heard Patrick.
Governor, it's Dan McGowan from the Globe. I guess the question that there's a bunch of reporters on this call who have been told that you're going to sign some sort of executive order to give Lieutenant Governor McKee a more authority over hiring cabinet directors. Can you clarify? Is there anything in the works on that?
So we, as I said, I had a call with him this morning, and I asked him pretty much every day, how can I assist with the transition? So I don't have anything to say right now. Dan, was that Dan? But,
yes.
We're working through things.
Are you, specifically the one that everybody's asking about is DLT, because Scott's last day is today. So what's going to happen with that?
Yes, by the way, I should take a half a second to thank Scott for his unbelievable leadership. And I will have to appoint a successor. And so, I talked to the Lieutenant Governor this morning on that. I want to make sure that he and I are on the same page, and I'll probably have more news to make on that later.
Governor Patrick Anderson, the Journal. Lieutenant Governor has named his chief of staff, Tony Silva, to be point person on COVID-related matters. Is that a good idea to have someone within the governor's office rather than a public health expert running point on COVID and vaccinations?
I am not going to now or ever second-guess the Lieutenant Governor's decisions. I'm here to support his transition and make sure that he is successful. Having said that, Dr. Alexander Scott is and will be the lead. In fact, just again this morning, the Lieutenant Governor recommitted to having her be the public health lead and the director of health. And, honestly, the entire time, the governor's office has been, of course, deeply involved in everything. So that's his call, He has to have a team he's comfortable with to do this job. And he's committed to keeping the existing COVID leadership in place, including Dr. Alexander Scott and General Callahan. And if he wants Tony to be in a particular role, then that's absolutely his prerogative. He ought to do that.
Governor, if you're answering questions now, and why can't you go back to doing the COVID briefing and put your face back in front of it? I think a lot of the criticism has been that you are no longer the public face, that you're not there, and now Lieutenant Governor McKee apparently isn't going again either. But why not just answer questions?
Yeah. So, as I said, I think it's important that Rhode Islanders get comfortable with seeing Governor McKee as the person who's leading the state through the end of the pandemic. I know from my own transition, I was afforded that courtesy. In a traditional transition, it's months between November and the end of January. And in my transition, I was afforded the opportunity to be out in front even before I was inaugurated. So I thought I think that that's the right thing to do. So that's the approach that I am taking.
But this is, obviously a different situation with the pandemic and obviously a highly critical vaccine rollout. And him now being critical of that vaccine rollout, it's not his rollout. And so, again, now nobody is there, and it seems a lot of the criticism has been that people would like to see somebody in charge, especially the person who is still making the decisions.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and that's why I'm here today, Brian. I think that's Brian. That's why I'm here. I am answering questions. I am fully accountable to the people of Rhode Island. I continue to work. I was working this weekend with the team on the vaccine rollout, and I am here answering your questions. Also, it's my understanding that the Lieutenant Governor is going to be there on Thursday, and I think, he and I are just working hand in glove to try to keep Rhode Islanders safe. And that's certainly what we are focused on.
Governor, it's Steve Klamkin. We've heard suggestions that as far as the local vaccination clinics, there's a suggestion that mayors are inviting people to come get vaccinated. Is this the case, and does this reflect a know-a-guy culture?
That is the first I've heard about that. Sorry, the doctor wants to jump in.
Hi, Steve. We do have it worked out with our municipal clinics to continue vaccinating those 75 years of age and older. The cities and towns have really done a great job supporting our senior community with doing this, working with senior housing, engaging with the seniors who are locally present and reaching out to them. They've filled out the registration for them, done whatever is needed to help them get vaccinated. So perhaps that may be what is being interpreted, but just like every other site, they are able to extend now to 65 and older. But we know that our cities and towns really have been continuing to prioritize as many of the 75 and older individuals that they have so that they can continue the good work they're doing with getting them access to vaccine.
Can mayors invite people specifically to come get vaccinated?
Yes, we are sharing lists with them from senior centers, from different registries that we have that we know seniors predominate, and they also know their senior community and have been engaging with them, but only with those who are eligible. Those 75 and older is what their focus has been, and now it's been extended to 65 and older.
Couple more questions.
Director, just following up on Patrick's question, do you plan, I know that your term is for quite a few more years, but are you committed to remaining in the state under the McKee administration? Do you plan to continue to serve?
Yep, definitely. I've been here, and, it's important to keep us going strong throughout this. And I've enjoyed and appreciated working with our outgoing and incoming governor to keep what we need in place.
I know you didn't.
Governor, I know the claim has been that Rhode Island's plan is.
But I would like to say that we would be in a lot worse shape if not for Dr. Alexander Scott's leadership, and I'm personally grateful, but also on behalf of Rhode Island. Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, Governor, I know the claim that you've made and Dr. Alexander Scott has made all along is that Rhode Island's plan has been more strategic than other states, and that's why it was slower. But, other states have done nursing homes and assisted livings and healthcare workers mostly to a full degree, if not to some degree. What do you see that makes Rhode Island's plan different and slower as opposed to these other states who have all focused on these targeted groups?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. The big difference is that more than almost any other state, we've seen huge drops in hospitalizations. So just look at the data. You know, we've seen the 40%? 46% drop in our hospitalizations, which outstrips nearly every other state, which, by the way, is why we can close our field hospitals this week. So, you know, obviously, as we've talked about, we have, as a percent of our population, more older folks, more folks in nursing homes. So it took us a little while. But on this one, I think the proof is in the pudding in terms of hospitalizations have been dropping like a rock. I don't know what you want to add.
Yeah, and our decrease is beyond what you've seen in our U.S. average, beyond what's occurred in West Virginia, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. The drop has been faster and more significant, and we are still on schedule with what we always had planned in terms of expanding our eligibility. So we achieved what we needed to achieve, and now we're making the shift that was anticipated to continuing faster and more broad vaccination to larger volumes of individuals.
Right, last question.
Doctor, how concerned, Doctor, are you that the rise in the variants may lead to a reopening of the field hospitals?
Very concerned. It's real that the variants are able to spread at a higher rate of transmissibility. And the best thing we could have done is what we've done. Get hospitalization rates as low as they needed to be. Our percent positivity is as low as they've needed to be. So if there is any significant uptake, we are ready. We have the best positioning you could plan for in terms of accomplishing what we set out to do with phase 1 and making it so that whatever happens as we go forward, we have made less likely that our hospitalization capacity will be overwhelmed.
Great. Thank you, everyone.